Um, I will be sensitive to that, and I will also speak briefly because I know you're interested in electing bishops today. I do want to thank you for the opportunity to be here and for the chance to renew friendships with brothers and sisters in the United Methodist Church in the Philippines, whom I have worked with over the years. I am especially happy to make acquaintance with Vida Grace Sison, who is your representative to the General Commission on Communication and is, for this quadrennium, the person who will be representing this Central Conference to our General Commission. I'm also grateful to Bishop Sally Dick, who gave us the inspiration this morning to go. Bishop Dick is the president of our General Commission. This is the fourth visit that United Methodist Communications has made to the church in the Philippines in the last 2 years, because we have been working with your communications staff to develop training experiences and to develop ways to tell the story of the church in the Philippines to the whole global church. The possibilities for technology to help us transform the world and make disciples of Jesus Christ in that transformation are greater today than they have ever been in the history of humankind. For that, we must be grateful, but we must also be actively engaged in that process of going into the world to make disciples using this new technology. As I was preparing to come to the Philippines, I thought about my first trip to Asia. If you will permit me, I'll share with you just a bit of that early day experience, because I'd like to contrast that first trip to Asia to this trip and the day that the use of technology that we're celebrating today. That first trip was not to the Philippines, it was to Cambodia, which in those days was known as Kampuchea. Vietnam had just occupied Kampuchea, and Kampuchea had just fallen. The Khmer Rouge regime under Pol Pot had just fallen, a very terrible regime, as you know, that committed genocide among the Kampuchean people. My role was to make a film about humanitarian assistance in Cambodia. In order to do that, I had to get permission from the United States, which was opposed to Vietnam, and I had to get permission from Vietnam, which was occupying Cambodia, and I had to get permission from Cambodia, which subsequently was, of course, not answering for its own, but under the rule of the Vietnamese. During that trip, we shot the film. In those days, it was film, and prepared to return. I contracted malaria and had a serious case of malaria and was unable to communicate back to my office in the United States about my condition and about my need to return. When we finally were able to make the return from Cambodia, we had to go back to Vietnam, and I discovered that my airline ticket would not be honored by the Air France people because they had oversold the flight. And so I had no way to get out of Vietnam to get to the United States unless the captain of the airplane allowed me to make that trip. Once again, no cell phones, no way to communicate. I was concerned that if I stayed in Vietnam, I would be taken into custody, my film would be confiscated, I would be interrogated, and I would not be able to move on. So we stood on the tarmac. The captain considered my circumstances. A nun, whom I did not know, became my friend and advocated for me. And the captain agreed, because there was one seat left, and it was a first-class seat that I, on my tourist missionary fare, could get on the plane and fly to Bangkok. He said, you can get to Bangkok, from there on it's your problem to get to the United States. Well, I did get to the United States, and we did produce the film. The irony of the situation is that it was not the Vietnamese who confiscated our film, it was the government of the United States. And it took me several days to get that film out of customs and to be used. Well, my point in sharing that small story with you is that today I could get on a cell phone application and reach the airline and make changes to my reservation. I could call my office and be in touch with them to have me medevaced out of a circumstance like that. And I could have communicated in an entirely different way today than I could in 1980. That is the world that we live in today that is different from the world that we knew and that I grew up in the past. According to a survey by the Global Web Index, in 2011, the Philippines leads the world in social media usage. More than 75% of Filipinos are active in social media. There are 28 million Facebook users among Filipinos. According to a website called Social Bakers, 4 million Filipinos are registered users of Twitter, and 500,000 are on LinkedIn. Among Facebook users, more than half are females the age of 18 to 24, followed closely by females the age of 25 to 34. My friends, as you consecrated young people here today on this altar, you were addressing a generation that has grown up in a different world than those of you who are my age or a relative to my age. And you were consecrating a future church with young people who experience the world differently than you and I, who are older than they are. Let me give you an example of that. Do you know how many text messages you folks send each day in the Philippines? 1 billion text messages. That's B with a billion every day. I was sitting up here with the team who are doing the web conferencing, and I turned my iPad on and I put my Bluetooth on, and I discovered that over 40 of you are using iPads with your Bluetooth key open. You folks are technologically communicating with each other. There are some interesting realities to this, however, that I think we in the church need to be concerned about. And that is that while the benefits of this communication are undeniable, they are empowering. They do give us access to each other in new ways. They do give us the ability to participate online in classes and in training. They give us the ability to tell our story to a global audience. All of that is good. In fact, the webcast that you are witnessing on this screen and that folks around the world are seeing is, to the best of my knowledge, the first webcast by a central conference in the United Methodist Church. So not only are you electing 3 new bishops, you're making history when you use technology in this way. This is the media landscape today that we as a people of faith must be present in and that we must use to reach out to others. As Bishop Dick said so eloquently and with such moving description this morning, if we are to be disciples, we must be the missionaries, the preachers. We must be the evangelists. We must be those who go into this media landscape and who approach those people who feel alone, who feel isolated, who feel broken, who feel lost, and who are searching for meaning and purpose. Through the use of these technologies that allow us to communicate with each other, the millions of people on Facebook, the millions on Twitter, we become, if we use them well, the disciples who are going into the world, as Bishop Dick called us to do. This is the new media challenge. It is the challenge of speaking to the people that Jesus spoke about in Matthew 5, when he said, "Blessed are you who make peace," and in Matthew 25, when he said, we must incorporate into our lives and relate to those whom he himself relates to, and when we do, it is as if we are serving him. And so I simply want to come to you today to say that we are grateful to you for the work that you are doing in this new media landscape. We are grateful to you for the partnership that we have with you and for the work that your General Conference delegates did to ensure that the United Methodist Church continues to communicate effectively in this way with these people whom Jesus cares about and whom we care about and whom we desire to work with and to serve. Those are the values of the United Methodist Church, to be present where people are. And where people are today is in this new media landscape, using these technologies as they search for meaning and purpose. So for the votes of your General Conference delegates, for the staff team of the young people who are putting on this webcast, and for your concern as delegates in this Central Conference for how the United Methodist Church communicates, I say thank you, and we are grateful to you. The last thing I will say is that in this hyper-connected world of always-on media, as Bishop Dick has said, not only must we go, but must we always be concerned. We seek to invite all people, especially youth and young adults, to engage the church, to discover the meaning of faith, and to participate in the work of transforming the world as disciples of Jesus Christ. This is our challenge and our call. May God bless us in this work. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Hollon, for bringing that presentation to us. We